Zhao Yu noticed that Uncle Da had a bit of a temper. As the first artificial intelligence developed by the base, Zhao Yu wouldn't have dared to use it if not for the system's restrictions and his own absolute loyalty. After leaving the hot spring, Zhao Yu entered the main base alone. The room was only 30 square meters, without any windows, but filled with various electronic devices. Despite its mundane appearance, it was actually the inner workings of the base car. Here, he had control over everything in the base, upgrading technology, creating weapons, and more. He approached a screen displaying a message. Danger warning, novice benefit, one time used. There are still 83 days until the alien fleet discovers the base. Zhao Yu had received this warning ever since he arrived, and it was the reason he had focused on developing military technology for over 5 years. Could the alien fleet be referring to Earth? He wondered aloud. Ever since he discovered he was on the dark side of the moon, he had been uncertain about the alien fleet that was due to arrive in 3 months. If Earth sends its armed forces to the moon in a spaceship and calls it an alien fleet, then I won't have to worry so much. With his current military technology, there was no weapon on Earth that could harm the base. Even if it's a real alien fleet, it shouldn't be above level 2, right? Zhao Yu asked himself, glancing at the control panel. Base, level 1. Experience, 50, 404/100, 000. Technology points, 74 points, 1 point per hour. Since the system's arrival, it has only given me a little over 50,000 technology points. It's not enough to upgrade the base to level 2, so the alien fleet is probably only at level 1, he said, still unsure whether the alien fleet was a product of the system or a genuine threat in this universe. Unfortunately, the system remained silent, neither answering his doubts nor providing any clarity. Well, we'll have to wait and see in 3 months. 3 months? It wasn't that long, considering that it had already been 5 years since Zhao Yu first came to the moon. I'm here at the Longxi space base, guys. The security is really tight, said a streamer as he held up his phone and showed the scene in front of him. The entire space base was surrounded by soldiers with real guns and bullets. He couldn't help but feel a bit excited. Why would they send so many soldiers for a simple meeting? Maybe the aliens are really coming, he continued. There were other streamers around him. Some were just taking pictures of the guns and ammunition from a distance, while there were also some who wanted to get closer. There were also some streamers who were unwilling to stay outside. What's the point of filming from afar? Any small-time streamer could do that. Our Lu family's army doesn't shy away from a challenge. One streamer declared confidently, I'll show you guys what's really going on inside with a live stream. The streamer was Lu Fu, a streamer that have millions of followers. He had made a name for himself by doing things differently from other streamers. He saw the anti-alien conference as the perfect opportunity to gain even more followers, and he wasn't going to let a little thing like tight security stop him. He set off to find a way to sneak inside, and as he ventured further into the nearby jungle, he knew that his chance for internet fame was within reach. After chatting with his fans for a while, Lu Fu decided to wander around the base and find a way to sneak in. As he walked, he left the main road and entered a forest, clearly an uninhabited area. Most people would stop at this point, but Lu Fu see it as an opportunity. There's a forest here. Let's check it out. As he walked deeper into the forest, he stumbled upon a spot where the barbed wire fence was broken and there were no guards around. Look, we can sneak in here. It's just a barbed wire. We have bolt cutters. He quickly pulled out a pair of pliers from his backpack, looked around, and started cutting the wire. Soon, a small human-shaped hole appeared, and Lu Fu quickly crawled through. We're in, guys. Just wait and see. I'll broadcast everything live to you all, said Lu Fu, with a smug look on his face. But his luck didn't last long. A few armed guards suddenly appeared out of nowhere and caught them. Wait, don't get the wrong idea. I'm just a streamer, said Lu Fu, trying to explain himself.
Bang!
Before he could finish his sentence, he was immediately thrown to the ground, and a 2-centimeter thick rope tied his hands and feet. Someone took out a black cloth and tape from their pocket and covered his eyes and mouth. In just 1 second, Lu Fu was wrapped up like a rice dumpling. Meanwhile, the followers who were watching the live stream were shocked to see what was happening. Damn, the live streamer is done for. These soldiers really mean business. Lu Fu was captured, but his phone for live streaming was dropped on the ground, and the screen was still on, steaming at a tilted angle. As the fans in the live stream room became excited and began to discuss, a soldier walked over and glanced at the camera, seeming to realize something. Immediately after, in the footage, a combat boot got closer and closer until there was a pop sound. The next second, the live stream ended. All the fans were stunned. Damn, they just smashed Lu Fu equipment. They are taking so pretty seriously. At the meeting venue, Thomas, Jax, and representatives from the North Bear Kingdom had taken their seats. Alongside official personnel, a group of top astronomers and experts had also been invited to attend. In front of everyone, Chief Engineer Young spoke solemnly about the events of the past 3 days. Before we start, I want to make one thing clear. The landing site of our country's White Rabbit 9 is real. Everyone in the room had already seen the situation outside, with hundreds of soldiers armed and ready to protect the area. Although hundreds of international meetings had been held, this was the first time they had encountered such a situation. Without needing to be told, they knew that this was a big deal, and they patiently listened to Chief Engineer Yang's story without interruption. 3 days ago, when White Rabbit 9 landed on the moon, the live broadcast was suddenly interrupted just as the astronaut was about to open the door. I want to make it clear to everyone that the broadcast was indeed interrupted, and we did not deliberately conceal any information. At first, we thought it was an equipment malfunction, but after ruling out all possibility of failure, we found that the equipment was intact. The only possibility was that something had happened to the White Rabbit 9. Half an hour later, our far-orbit satellite Chang'e 5 satellite passed by the landing site, Chief Engineer Yang said, and then paused intentionally. Thomas, eager to know what had happened next, urged him on. And then what? What happened? When Chang'e 5 satellite reached the landing site, we found that the White Rabbit 9 was not there. In the short half hour since it landed on the moon, it had mysteriously disappeared, Chief Engineer Yang said. Disappeared? There was a stir in the audience as everyone discussed and speculated about the possibility of the White Rabbit 9 disappearing. It wasn't long before someone raised a question. Chief Engineer Yang, if it's just a disappearance, how can you conclude that it's related to the aliens? Yeah, if the White Rabbit 9 simply disappeared, how ca it be related to the main topic of this conference? Another person asked. Chief Engineer Yang smiled slightly, then pressed a button on the controller in his hand. In the next second, a photo of the satellite Chang'e 3 satellite appeared on the big screen. The murmurs gradually subsided as people looked at Chang'e 3 satellite in confusion, not understanding what he meant. 2 days after the White Rabbit 9 lost contact, and just 1 day ago, our near-orbit satellite Chang'e 3 satellite passed by the landing site, Chief Engineer Yang said. With the approval of the higher-ups, White Rabbit 9 fell near the landing site. Thomas's eyes lit up and he asked, "Did you capture anything on camera?" Chief Engineer Yang nodded and pressed a button on the controller once again. The next moment, a clear image appeared on the screen, showing a giant rock floating in mid-air, with what appeared to be a tentacle-like object coming out from it. The image was extremely clear and provided perfect evidence of the existence of the aliens. Everyone in the room was shocked. At first, we were worried that the alien rock might not show up at all. After all, Chang'e 3 satellite was just a lifeless object. But fortunately, the alien rock did arrive, said Chief Engineer Yang. This suggests that any electronic device has a high likelihood of attracting the alien rock, he continued. Most people were still in shock at the news of the aliens and weren't paying attention to Chief Engineer Yang's words. Oh my God, there really are aliens. So, this tentacle-like thing is a jammer that can block the electronic signals? It seems so, otherwise we can't explain why the camera got cut off, replied someone else. Does that mean the signal interruption of White Rabbit 9 was caused by this tentacle thing? Asked a curious audience member. Everyone in the audience was discussing and speculating nonstop. However, some representatives from smaller countries were skeptical and turned to Thomas for answers. You guys in Mean also have a moon satellite and a landing site. Are you sure you didn't see White Rabbit 9? No, we did not, Thomas replied honestly before turning to Chief Engineer Yang. Chief Engineer Yang, Do you have any additional information besides what you've already shared with us? Chief Engineer Young shook his head. After confirming signs of alien life on the moon, we immediately informed you guys. This is all the information we have at the moment. Thomas nodded and asked, so why did you call us here? Chief Engineer Young remained silent, but Colonel Chu stepped forward. We want to unite with the global community and send probes to the moon to search for signs of aliens, he explained. Thomas and his team exchanged glances. The discovery of aliens would be the top priority mission for any country. Therefore, they assumed that once the news reached their home countries, their leaders would respond to Great Xia's call and participate in the moon exploration. Colonel Chu was aware of this and continued. Based on the characteristics of this alien rock, we have determined that it will release tentacles between 15 to 50 meters from the target. So, we suggest that the probes traveling to the moon should be grouped in pairs with a certain distance between them. This way, they can serve as bait and gather more information about the alien rock, he concluded. The first meeting to defend against alien invasion officially ended, leaving all attendees excited, nervous, afraid, and curious. Many internet users were intrigued by the government's mysterious actions and left comments asking for an explanation. Unfortunately, the government didn't respond to any of the requests. They just left the people to imagine what really happened. After a full day of discussions, the hype about aliens started to die down. But just when everyone thought the issue was over, a new announcement reignited everyone's curiosity. The Great Xia Space Agency reports that the White Rabbit 9 has disappeared on the moon, and the fate of the 3 astronauts on board is unknown. Multiple spacecraft will be launched in 3 days to search and rescue the team. The Mean Space Agency will launch the first phase of their preliminary exploration plan to establish a moon base in 3 days. The Five Eyes Space Agency will launch their preliminary exploration plan to establish a moon base in 3 days. The Northern Bear National Space Agency expresses regret over the loss of the White Rabbit 9 and will send all available rockets to assist in the search and rescue of the astronauts. The world was taken by surprise when the 4 most powerful nations on Earth made simultaneous announcements. Though the content of each announcement differed, they all agreed to launch rockets to the moon in 3 days. I'm telling you, something's not right. Aliens, they could be real. Don't say could be. Aliens definitely exist. After Great Xia held a meeting to discuss alien invasion, why did the other major nations all take the same action? I remember the last time the 4 major powers worked together was 100 years ago, and that was because they had a common enemy at the time. Exactly. So, what did the White Rabbit 9 encounter on the moon? Aliens became a hot topic again, causing a frenzy worldwide. In addition to announcing the moon landing plan together, countries also held 2 meetings during this period, each lasting from morning until late at night. A lot of small decisions were made. This included the dispatching of small and simple equipment for the moon rovers to maximize the number of probes that could be loaded onto a spacecraft. This moon landing mission was solely to collect information from the alien civilizations and had no other scientific objectives. Many unnecessary devices could be streamlined to make more space available for the rovers. After deep discussion, the 4 nations on Earth signed a contract and agreed to share any discoveries related to the aliens. They knew that they couldn't take any risks before they knew more about the aliens' strength. To better prepare for the mission, the 4 nations formed a secret department called the Alien Affairs Division. The department recruited top experts from various fields to research and analyze the aliens' origin, behavior, motivation, level of danger, and civilization level on the moon. 3 days passed like an eternity under the attention of everyone around the world. On September 28, 2028, at 9 a.m., the rockets of the 4 nations launched to the moon at the same time. The interstellar era had begun. Many people didn't sleep that night as they pondered on what the alien civilization on the moon was up to. They wondered where humanity would go from here. It was just like when the colonizers first discovered the continent of Mean and its indigenous inhabitants. However, if the same tragedy that happened once in history were to happen again, the Earthlings would be the indigenous people and not the colonizers.